Hey, modern fans and followers, how are you, dear Anya? It's activist come preacher, Professor Suresh, back with altruistic enthusiasm for my 95th video on Umbrella of Publication on YouTube today, 13th October 2020. Topic for discussion today is cosmic consciousness, also known as higher consciousness. Consciousness at its simplest is sentience or awareness of internal or external existence. Despite centuries of analysis, definitions, explanations, and debates by philosophers and scientists, consciousness remains puzzling and controversial, being at once the most familiar and most mysterious aspect of our lives. Perhaps the only wide agreed notion about the topic is the intuition that it exists. Opinions differ about what exactly needs to be studied and explained as consciousness. Sometimes it is synonymous with the mind, other times an aspect of it. In the past, it was one's inner life, the world of introspection, of private thought, imagination, and volition. Today, with the modern approach into the brain, it often includes kind of experience, cognition, feeling, or perception. It may be awareness or self-awareness. This might there might be different levels or orders of consciousness or different kinds of consciousness or just one kind of with the different features. The mind is a set of faculties including cognitive aspects such as consciousness, imagination, perception, thinking, intelligence, judgment, language, and memory, as well as non-cognitive aspects such as emotion and instinct. Under the scientific physical interpretation, the mind is produced at least in part by the brain. The primary competitors to the physical interpretations of the mind are idealism, substance dualism, and types of property dualism, and by some lights eliminate materialism and anomalous monism. There is a lengthy tradition in philosophy, religion, psychology, and cognitive science about what constitutes a mind and what are its distinguishing properties. Whatever its nature, it is generally agreed that mind is that which enables a being to have subjective awareness and intentionality towards their environment, to perceive and respond to stimuli with some kind of agency and have consciousness, including thinking and feeling. The concept of mind is understood in many different ways by many different cultural and religious traditions. Some see mind as a property exclusive to humans, whereas others ascribe properties of mind to non-living entities. Example, Synchism, and animism. Animals and deities. Some of the earliest recorded speculations link mind, sometimes described as identical with the soul or spirit, theories concerning both life after death and cosmological and natural order. The possibility of non-biological minds is explored in the field of artificial intelligence, which works closely in relation with the cybernetics and information theory to understand the ways in which information processing by non-biological machines is comparable or different to mental phenomena in the human mind. The mind is also portrayed as a stream of consciousness where sense impressions and mental phenomena are constantly changing. In cosmic consciousness, Buck stated that he discerned three forms or degrees of consciousness: simple consciousness possessed by both animals and mankind, self-consciousness possessed by mankind encompassing thought, reason, and imagination, cosmic consciousness, which is a higher form of consciousness than that possessed by the ordinary man. According to Buck, this consciousness shows cosmos consists not of dead matter governed by unconscious, rigid, and unintending law. It shows it, on the contrary, as entirely immaterial, entirely spiritual, and entirely alive. It shows that death is an absurdity, that everyone and everything has eternal life. It shows that the universe is God and that God is a universe. and that no evil ever did or ever will enter into it. A great deal of this is, of course, from the point of view of self consciousness observed. It is nevertheless undoubtedly true. Moore said that Buck's cosmic consciousness is an interconnected way of seeing things, which is more of an intuitive knowing than it is a factual understanding. Moore pointed out that for scholars of the purist stamp, the experience of cosmic consciousness is incomplete without the element of love, which is the foundation of mystical consciousness. Mysticism, then, is a perception of the universe and all of its seemingly disparate entities existing in a unified whole bound together by love. Joan A. Herrero Gaza said that Buck's cosmic consciousness refers to the evolution of the intellect and not to the ineffable revelation of hidden truths. According to Brazos, it was William James who equated Buck's cosmic consciousness with mystical experience or mystical consciousness. Gary Lackman notes that today Buck's experience would most likely be explained by the so-called God spot, or more generally as a case of temporal lobe epilepsy, but he is skeptical of these and other organic explanations. Buck identified only male examples of cosmic consciousness. He believed that women were not likely to have it. He regarded Walt Whitman as a climax of religious evolution and the harbinger of humanity's future. Both Buck and James argue that all religions, no matter how seemingly different, have a common core. Both believe that it is possible to identify this core by stripping away institutional creations of dogma and ritual and focusing on individual experience. And both identify mystical illumination as a foundation of all religious experience. James popularized the concept of religious experience, which he explored in the varieties of religious experience. He saw mysticism as a distinctive experience which supplies knowledge of the transcendental. He considered the personal religion to be more fundamental than ever, either theology or ecclesiasticism. And states. In mystic states, we both become one with the absolute and we become aware of the oneness. This is the everlasting and triumphant mystical tradition, hardly altered by differences of clime or creed. In Hinduism, in Neo-Platonism, in Sufism, in Christian mysticism, in Whitmanism, we find the same recurring note, so that there is about mystical utterances and equal unanimity with the heart, which ought to make a critic stop and think, and which bring it about. The mystical classics have, as been said, neither birthday nor native land. Regarding cosmic consciousness, William James, in his essay The Confidences of a Psychical Researcher, wrote that again are the relations between the cosmic consciousness and matter, so, so that our ordinary human experience on its material as well as on its mental side would appear to be only an extract from the larger psychosocial world. James understood cosmic consciousness to be a collective consciousness, a larger reservoir of consciousness, which manifests itself in the minds of men and remains intact after the dissolution of the individual. It may retain traces of the life history of its individual emanation. In Schleiermacher's theology, higher consciousness is a part of the human being that is capable of transcending animal instincts. It is a point of contact with God and the essence of being human. When higher consciousness is present, people are not alienated from God by their instincts. The relation between higher and lower consciousness is akin to St. Paul's struggle of the spirit to overcome the flesh. Higher consciousness establishes a distinction between the natural and spiritual sides of human beings. The concept of religious experience was used by Schleiermacher and by Albert Ritschl to defend religion against scientific and secular criticism, and to defend the belief that moral and religious experiences justify religious belief. The cosmic consciousness is that in which the limits of ego, personal mind, and body disappear, and one becomes aware of cosmic vastness, which is or is filled by cosmic spirit, and are aware also of the direct play of cosmic forces, universal mind forces, universal life forces, universal energies of matter, universal over mind forces, but one does not become aware of all these together. The opening of the cosmic consciousness is usually progressive. It is not that the ego, the body, and the personal mind disappear, but one feels them as only a small part of oneself. One begins to feel others too as part of oneself or very repetitions of oneself, the same self modified by nature in other bodies, or at least as living in the larger universal self, which is henceforth one's own greater reality. All things, in fact, begin to change their value and appearance. One's whole experience of the world is radically different from that of those who are shut up in their personal sleeves. One begins to know things by a different kind of experience, more direct, not depending on the external mind and the senses. It is not that the possibility of error disappears, for that cannot be so long as mind of any kind is one's instrument for transcribing knowledge, but there is a new, vast, and deep way of experiencing, seeing, knowing, contacting things, and the confines of knowledge can be rolled back to an almost immeasurable degree. The things one has to be on guard against in the cosmic consciousness or the play of a magnified ego, the vaster attacks of the hostile forces, for they too are part of the cosmic consciousness and the attempt of the cosmic illusion, ignorance, avidya. They prevent the growth of the soul into the cosmic truth. These are things that one has to learn by experience. Mental teaching or explanation is quite insufficient. To enter safely into the cosmic consciousness and to pass safely through it, it is necessary to have a strong central unegoistic sincerity and to have the psycho being with its deviation of truth and unfaltering orientation towards the divine already in front of the nature. When you become cosmic, even though you speak of yourself as I, it is not I. The ordinary I-ness disappears and the mental, vital, and physical look like representatives of the new consciousness. Ramakrishna Paramahamsa speaks of this state as a form of ego left for action. The supramental state, there will be individual centers of cosmic consciousness. The supermind will work through the cosmic in these centers according to the truth of their being. Limitation itself, ignorance itself, changing changes the meaning for us. Ignorance changes into a particularizing action of divine knowledge, the strength and weakness and incapacity change into a free putting forth and holding back various measures of divine force. Joy and grief, pleasure and pain change into a mastering and a suffering of divine delight. Struggle, losing its discards, becomes a balancing of forces and values in divine harmony. We do not then suffer by the limitations of our mind, life, and body, for we no longer live in this, even when we record and accept them, but in the infinity of the spirit. And these we view in the right value and place and purpose in the manifestation as degrees of the Supreme Being, conscious force, and delight of Sachidananda, veiling and manifesting himself as in the cosmos. We cease also to judge other men and things by their outward appearances and are delivered from hostile and contradictory ideas and emotions, for it is a soul that we seek. The divine that we seek and find in everything and creature, and the rest as only a secondary value to us in a scheme of relations which exist now for us only as self-expressions of the divine and not as having any absolute value in themselves. So too, no event can disturb us, since the distinction of happy and unhappy, beneficent and maleficent happenings loses its force, and all is seen in its divine value and its divine purpose. Thus, we arrive at a perfect liberation and an infinite equality. The individual is only an element in the whole, even as the Earth is a part of the solar system, and the solar system makes a part of all the systems of the universe. So, just as there is individual consciousness, there is a group consciousness and a consciousness of the system, a universal consciousness, which is made up of the set of all the consciousnesses composing it. Plus something, something more subtle, just like you have lots of cells in your body. Each cell has its own consciousness, and your consciousness, which is a consciousness of your total individuality, though made up of all these small cellular consciousnesses. The rare phenomenon known as the cosmic consciousness happens to all who are ready for that experience. It has nothing to do with the amount of meditation one does, or has it to do with the prayer, religion, faith, trust in God, or anything else that man can be familiar with. It is a state that comes from the higher self, which decides when one should experience that moment. The higher self is always living in that state, and although on one level the higher self is living in a world where nothing exists, but before that level of consciousness, the higher self is also living in a world of total oneness with all life. Cosmic consciousness, occasionally the higher self decides to give the person that he is guiding the experience for its own reasons. So it will suddenly link with the consciousness of that person and pour its knowledge into that person who suddenly experiences cosmic awareness, cosmic consciousness. Equally, and even more rarely, the higher self can take its God into the next level where there is absolutely nothing with which to relate. The higher self is both single and unified, by which we mean that each and every object, human, animal, vegetable, or mineral, has a personal higher self, but these higher selves will eventually, when the individuality of its charge ceases, join with its maker, the Godhead, and dissolve into the entity God. While it has a change charge to care for it, it remains to a certain extent separate from God, so that it can concentrate on its function, which is to guide its charge back to God. Obviously, in the case of a plant, which has a relatively short lifespan, the higher self soon returns to God, whereas in the case of a stone, a planet, a galaxy, or a universe, vast amounts of time pass until the higher self can return. Humans live for a long time also, so the higher self helps and guides humans for many millions of years measured in Earth time before a person is ready to release its contact with its higher self, and both of them, the spirit of the individual and the higher self, can return to source, God. But to return to this strange experience that the higher self of certain people are allowed to experience, we are not able to tell you why the higher self does this. The higher self of individuals is outside the comprehension of even the wisest of us. We are still, all of us enwrapped in one form of incarnation or another. We know a certain amount concerning what a higher self is and the mechanics of its functions, but we do not have any control over higher selves, so cannot predict when and why they act as they do. It's close to God, and by the very fact that we are conscious, sentient, and able to think in human form, indicates that we are not close to the moment when we merge with God, and both we and the higher self becomes truly one with God again. Cosmic consciousness, a study in the evolution of the human mind, is the title of a 1901 book by Richard Morris Buck. In it, Buck developed a theory involving three stages in the development of consciousness: the simple consciousness of animals, we have already discussed, self consciousness of the mass of humanity, encompassing reason, imagination, etc., and cosmic consciousness, an emerging faculty and the next stage of human development. Buck hypothesis that next stage of human mental development, which he named cosmic consciousness, is slowly beginning to appear and will eventually spread widely throughout all of humanity. Buck's conclusion 100 years ago, more than 100 years ago, is that these individuals are gifted in the direction of cosmic consciousness, but then develop this awareness through self-discipline. It now seems that the gift as at birth is not as necessary as a self-discipline and the art of loving. Many of today's psychologists and theologians, theologians, theologians make specific reference to Buck's work. There is a mystical power within you. They call the cosmic energizer that can completely transform your life spiritually, mentally, financially, and socially, and set you on the high road to happiness, freedom, and peace of mind. This power lies dormant within you, and when you learn about it and begin to use this mystical power, you can solve your problems, find your true place in life, and begin to live the life more abundant. I have seen men and women lifted up from the midst of frustration, sickness, poverty, and despair through the application of these cosmic energies within themselves and made sound, well, prosperous, and full of vitality, energy, and enthusiasm. They entered into a life of almost boundless power. You are connected with this infinite power which can teach you all things. All that is necessary is that you have an open and receptive mind. I have known businessmen, housewives, taxi drivers, short order cooks, men and women from all walks of life to be inspired into new thoughts and ideas which made them large fortunes, resulting in promotion and far greater opportunities to release their hidden talents. This cosmic energizer is already well known to millions of people throughout the world and has been known to certain illumined people for thousands of years. This power is the presence of God in man. To be aware of this power and to utilize it in your life is your divine birthright. Let this divine power flow through your mind, body, business, and all other phases of your life so that you need no longer live a life of limitation, lack, and difficulties, and but will rise up like an eagle with the wings of thought, feeling, imagination, and faith of the realm of unlimited resources, dominion, and joy. This mystic wonder working power is within your own mind and you can begin to use it immediately as it is responsive to your thought. This power is stronger than a laser beam, higher than atomic and nuclear missiles, and more potent than all the energies and explosives in the whole world. It is the power of the infinite or God, unlimited and inexhaustible. You can bring it to your life more power, more wealth, more health, and more happiness by learning to contact and release the hidden power of the cosmic energizer. Higher consciousness is the consciousness of a God or the part of the human mind that is capable of transcending animal instincts. While the concept has certain ancient roots dating back to the Bhagavad Gita and Indian Vedas, it was significantly developed in German idealism and is a central notion in contemporary popular spirituality involving the New Age movement. Hindu cosmology is the description of the universe and its states of matter, cycles within time, physical structure, and effects of living entities according to Hindu texts. Time is infinite with a cyclic universe, where the current universe was preceded and will be followed by an infinite number of universes. Each universe lasts for 4.32 billion years in a time period called the Kalpa or Day of Brahma. Created, where the universe is created at the start and destroyed at the end, only to be recreated at the start of the next Kalpa. A Kalpa is followed by an equal period of partial dissolution, Pralaya, or Night of Brahma. When Brahma takes rest from its creative duties, the universe remains in an unmanifest state. Further divisions of this time are Manvantara, each with the Chatur Yuga, also known as Maha Yuga, each with the four yugas, Satya Yuga, Treta Yuga, Dwapara, Dwapara Yuga, and Kali Yuga. All matter is based on three inert gunas, qualities or tendencies: Sattva, goodness; Rajas, passion; Tamas, darkness. There are three states of the gunas that make up all matter in the universe. Pradhana, root matter; gunas in an unmixed and unmanifested state, equilibrium. Prakriti, primal matter; gunas in a mixed and unmanifested state, universe. Matter, gunas is a mixed in a mixed and manifested state. Pradhana, which has no consciousness or will to act or will to act on its own, is initially agitated by a primal desire to create. The different schools of thought are differ in understanding about the ultimate source of that desire and what the gunas are mixed with eternal elements, time, jivatmas. The manifest material elements, matter, range from the most subtle to the most physical, gross. These material elements cover the individual spiritual jivatmas, embodied souls, allowing them to interact with the material sense objects such as the temporary material bodies, other conscious bodies, and unconscious objects. Manifested subtle elements, agamhara, ego, buddhi, intelligence, Sitta mind. Manifested physical gross elements, also known as Panchabhuta, are five great elements and their associated senses and sense organs that manifest space, either sound, ear, air, smell, nose, fire, sight, form, eye, water, taste, tongue, earth, touch, skin. The main characteristics of cosmic consciousness, as identified by Buck, are an intellectual revelation of the meaning, purpose, and aliveness of the universe, subjective experience of an inner sight, a moral elevation, a sense of immortality, loss of the fear of death, and absence of the concept of sin. Buck also highlights the importance of light, illuminati. Cosmic consciousness may feature an experience of being immersed in a flame or rose colored cloud, or perhaps rather a sense that the mind is itself filled with such a cloud or haze. This presentation is like a religious sermon. Only thing is, I don't know the ropes, proper ropes for it. I could not help it since the topic is such. Debates, discussion on open-ended topics like this can go on forever. Anyhow, let me pull the plug here. We'll meet again real soon with another interesting topic. Some of the statements used express are solely mine based on limited knowledge gained over 6 decades of versatile experience. Always watch these videos with the closed captions, subtitles for absolute 100% comprehension as per my sincere recommendations zillion times so far. I know I rushed through to complete the presentation within 20 minutes max. It is a time limit. I had set myself to retain the video's attention as a norm. I know nowadays I exceed this time limit since I make honest attempts to cover the selected topic more elaborately, including so many intricate fine details, referring a wide variety of sources, in particular Wikipedia quite extensively, besides articles and books published recently. Besides, of course, I sprinkle my own salt and pepper and season it with my personal experiences so far in my life and also intuition. Stay at home as much as possible to maintain social distancing. Attributed to pandemic novel COVID-19 and prolong your lifespan, lead a healthy life. God alone can put a stop to natural, unnatural events, maybe bio-war and cyber-war events like pandemics, which may lead to apocalypse and extinction of all sentient species on earth for no fault of others. Rest in peace and harmony.